What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to episode 383 of the WrestleTalk Podcast. Now, first, I have to say, it's going to be a little different tonight. First off, obviously, it's a special start time of 7:30, which, honestly, I don't mind. But, also, we got two badass hosts tonight, and I'm just going to ring them right on in here. So, ladies and gentlemen, we got straight from the Lou, the voice of Dynamo Pro Wrestling, the one, the only, big sexy Chris Rodell.
Jeremy, Maestro, how's it going tonight? I mean, I'm gonna see you Saturday. I know that, but anytime I get a chance to talk to you, it's gonna be a good night. Special start time. I think we're gonna kill it tonight.
I think so too. And having this next guy on is always a pleasure, even though he kind of rubbed some of his sports teams in our faces a few times, but it's okay. We got his butt when it comes to baseball. So, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the WrestleTalk Podcast, Sonny Money Mayo.
Let's go!
he's trolling us tonight, Maestro. He's wearing an Isaac Bruce jersey.
Oh my gosh!
Hey, one of the greatest St. Louis Rams ever. Yo, Rodell, Jeremy, how are you, fellas? Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday to you.
Money. Isaac Bruce, Hall of Fame or not?
Absolutely. And anybody who says anything different, I'll give them a freaking Masato Tanaka elbow across the head because they don't know sports. Absolutely.
So I think you'll find this interesting. Jeremy has another podcast that he's going to, I believe you're recording it tomorrow, right? Tomorrow night?
Yes. Tomorrow night, 7:30.
Roundabout Sports. He's got St. Louis Rams legend, defensive end, Tyoka Jackson, community activist, is going to be on there. I know, and like I told Jeremy before, I've heard Tyoka on several interviews on different radio shows in the St. Louis area. Always a great conversation.
So, absolutely. Hey, tell Vince McMahon to quit calling the show.
I know.
He's been trying to get on the show. He wants to discuss WrestleMania. He's talking about maybe Austin Owens, and he's talking about Goldberg getting choked out. I don't want to talk to you right now, Vince McMahon. Call back later.
My phone's on the other end of the room, or the other side of the room, and I didn't want to get up and get it. So,
first off, let's give a good evening to our dear friend Herb Simmons, one of my favorite guys to know.
Good
in
guy.
The ring and outside the ring, just an all-around good guy. I mean, he's like an encyclopedia, a history museum when it comes to professional wrestling. So.
Every Hall of Famer, it used to be in every Hall of Fame. So
yeah, exactly.
Speaking of a Hall of Fame, we've got the creative director of the Nebraska Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. Me and Sonny talked to a Hall of Famer a couple weeks ago, Jason Strife. Jason Strife is in the Nebraska Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. We're going to talk to Donnie Dodge just in our second hour tonight. We only have one guest tonight, so it's a little like Jeremy said, it's a little different. Different start time for this week because we had some scheduling issues and stuff like that. But you know what? We roll with the punches, and there's so much wrestling news to talk about right now. We're on the road to WrestleMania. We're on the road to AEW Revolution. We've got a whole bunch of other stuff going on. So let's do this. And Carp, are you ready for this?
I am as ready as can be. I'm hyped.
So unfortunately, as it seems like we do a lot more than we feel like we should, we have to pay homage to a couple of wrestling people that passed away this past week, tragically and surprisingly, and at a very soberly young age in accidents. So I'm gonna let Sonny take over for this because Sonny knows a little bit more about especially the one. So Sonny, I'll let you go ahead and take care of this.
Yeah, I wasn't too familiar with the other gentleman, but I did have the pleasure of working with Howard Alden. And as XWE fans and fans of Western Kansas would know him as Bubba Sutton. Bubba Sutton, Howard Alden, in fact, unfortunately passed away in a tragic car accident along with his 14-year-old son, and it is nothing short of a tragedy. Besides what he did in the ring, which was phenomenal, he was a good man on the outside of the ring. He was a great father to all of his kids. He was a great husband. And when it comes to wrestling, the community, especially in XWE, is saddened, is shocked, is speechless. There's been nothing but tributes pouring in. And, you know, that always happens when untimely deaths come around. but I've got to work with the guy. I've got to personally sit and talk, and it wasn't very long, but I'm a good judge of character. I know Howard Alden was a good man. I know Bubba Sutton was good for the wrestling community. So many prayers to Howard Alden's family, many prayers to Bubba Sutton's colleagues, and I'll see you in that wrestling ring on the other side, my friend.
And XWE this week, they have a show. They have a show, and they're doing a special 50-50 raffle just for to help cover the cost of the tragic loss of this great man. So I think right now we should probably let's how about we have a moment of silence for the for Bubba Sutton and Rodeo Ron Landals right now. Thank you, everybody. I mean, it's just you think about these indie wrestlers. They with the driving that they do, it's amazing. Sometimes it's kind of amazing that you don't hear more about this. So.
Yeah, and I mean, I think kind of more in local communities where these guys are at through the United States, it happens. And listen, I'm in the transportation industry. I see it every single day. So that's why it's so important. You know, it ticks me off. I know this isn't the shoot and shout segment, so I won't get into it. But, you know, honestly, when people drive with cell phones in their hands, and I'm just as guilty. If I'm in my personal car, you know, I'm at a point now that I put my cell phone away in the console, because if it's out, I'm going to touch it. And so many people are addicted to cell phones. Not saying that's what happened, but what I am saying is that is a lot of the cause of these accidents. So people, put your phones down. I know you get comfortable in those cars, but man, it takes a split second for the whole life to change, not just yours, but somebody else's. So
and Andy lost his 14-year-old son at the same time. I think that's
tragic, man. That's why I said it's a tragedy. So, but you know what? I think more than anything, I've worked with Bubba Sutton. I think if more than anything, he would want us to bring the noise, bring the energy more than ever tonight. So let's do this, Rodell. Let's do this, Maestro. Hey, before we get started, Maestro, do me a favor. Let's get those sponsors across the screen, because we wouldn't be able to get together every Tuesday night. We wouldn't be able to have WrestleTalk Podcast without all these fans that are on Facebook, that are on YouTube, that are on Twitter, but especially without these wonderful sponsors we got. So let's hit these sponsors, man. We got Sports Bar KC, Interstate 70 Sports Media, Royals Mills, Transportation, Painter's Dream Productions, Rathburn Engraving, Me Fiesta Party, KC Party Rentals, Noble Men's Barbershop Lounge, KCMO, Ask for Pete the Barber. I'm coming, Pete. And last but not least, the FWWC. Shout out to all my FWWC people out there. You guys keep it rolling. Also, Everything Combat, Kincaid Arcade. Hey, those are the great sponsors. We'll continue to shout them out as we do every single week here on the WrestleTalk Podcast, because, again, I cannot say it enough. Without them, gentlemen, we wouldn't be able to get together and talk what we love, and that's pro wrestling.
Yeah, I mean,
that's absolutely true.
Right. I mean, you gotta have sponsors, or else you don't have a show. So I mean, so we gotta take care of them. And Kincaid's doing big things out in that the Kansas area.
Oh, yeah, man! Shout out to DVD. Shout out to everybody over there involved in Kincaid. They just opened up their second Kincaid shop here in the Hy-Vee Arena, formerly of the Kemper Arena. So, 2 arcades going, especially in 2022 when everybody's like, I'm going to stay home and I'm play the PlayStation and everything. He's got arcades going and they're thriving, and he's a sponsor of WrestleTalk, so it's a win-win for everybody. So
I was actually going to ask, Hy-Vee Arena. That's the old Kemper Arena where you said the Kemper Arena where the Jayhawks play, right?
No. So Jayhawks are in Lawrence, Kansas. This is Kemper Arena, home of the first WWF SmackDown TV taping, home of the unfortunate incident at Over the Edge. But yes, we had sports teams here, concerts here, and so on and so forth. They converted it into a sports arena now. They made it was all one big level, and then they made it 2 levels, and there's basketball games. It's a great arena. So you're in the greater Kansas City area, go check out Hy-Vee Arena. Go check out Kincaid. Tell them the boys from WrestleTalk Podcast send you over there.
Oh, it's gonna be that's awesome. I can't wait to come out to the Kansas City area, because if I come out there, I want Renee and you to take me definitely to Kincaid, and we'll have some fun playing some old school arcade games and stuff.
Absolutely,
like that.
Man. Absolutely. We'll hit that up. We'll hit Noble Men's Barbershop up when we're cruising around.
Well, I don't know. You want to mess with this hair?
Bro, you need to get the WTP shaved in the side of your head, bro. What we'll do is we'll call Royals Mills Transportation and we'll have them take us around town. And while we're doing it, we'll cut a promo in the FWWC. I mean, it's a win-win for everybody across the board, baby.
Right. So I guess, like I said, we're going to do our we don't have any of the regular sounds, so we can't do the national anthem. We all auditioned to do the national anthem earlier, and Nidal and Luke both said that no, we're not going to.
Although I will say it was Norway that won the Olympics, so if anything. Maybe there's
Norway. No, there's no Norway. That's not a country, really. No, just kidding. But yeah, we all tried out to sing the national anthem, and we said that no one could do it better than Roseanne Barr. So we will skip that, but we will still salute the greatest country in the world, the United States of America. So, and we don't have our high spots opening segment, but we're going to jump right on into it. How about that, how about that, Money? Let's do that.
Hey, bro, I used to grow up going to ECW shows in the ECW arena. We didn't have AC. We didn't have a Titantron. This is one night only right here. A special start time is 7:30. Hey, this is as raw as it gets. So, everybody here, this is as raw as it gets. You stick around for the show because we're about to get in this high spot segment. And we're really about to.
You were able to actually at the ECW arena. I did not know that.
Yeah, brother. Oh yeah, man. Many times. ECW shows, CZW shows, 3PW, which was around for a little bit. Yep. Swanson and Rittner in South Philly. So shout out to my grandmother still down there at 11th and McKean in South Philly. I love you, Gam. So that's it, baby.
All right. So, guys, I'm actually going to let you two take the reins on the high spots. Take care of some business behind the scenes, but I won't be far.
Whenever you want to come back on, we will bring you into things. So,
all right. Maestro. I'll see you all soon.
Okay, cool. All right, Sonny, we are on the road to WrestleMania, the road to Revolution. We're going to start with the events this past weekend, as the road to WrestleMania took you by flight to across the world to the other side of the world, Saudi Arabia, for WWE Sweet Saudi. I mean, the Elimination Chamber, with a whole bunch of events setting up the WrestleMania card. We already knew that it was going to be Roman versus Brock.
Yeah,
and Charlotte versus Ronda. So, first of all, I want to talk about Madcap Moss. I mean, Madcap Moss. That the gimmick is terrible. It's not good. It's not good.
Okay.
But that spot he took where he got spiked, that could have been really, really bad.
Yeah. And I think that's why we preach it enough on this show when we have great guests such as Craig Kiesman, Golden Boy Greg Anthony. Those two come to mind as guys who were trainers that, hey, man, you never know what can happen. This ain't ballerina. Get in that ring and train. Injuries are going to happen like that, unfortunately. And luckily, Madcap Moss isn't handicap Moss right now because, he landed straight on his head, Rodell. Like, that was nuts, bro.
And you could see it immediately from both Baron Corbin and the referee. The referee was down there within seconds. Apparently, the pull spot where Corbin pulled him out was part of the stuff, but it got extended a little bit because they wanted to make sure that Madcap Moss was actually okay. So,
yeah,
I mean, and I guess we have to talk about the Bobby Lashley spot,
bro. That's to me right now, Chris. That's some of the biggest news in WWE.
It's heartbreaking because Bobby Lashley has been doing some of the best work that he's done in the WWE. I mean. Yep. He's kind of a charisma magnet where there's just our charisma vacuum, I should say.
Yep.
However, but he's been doing some of his best work, and you kind of looked at it, and he did probably a good job of selling the concussion because I would never thought that he had a shoulder injury. So,
dude, I did. Like, I was at Night Owl's Mansion. We were watching that. If you go back on that Royal Rumble match between Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar. Like, bro, that first German suplex, you could tell Lashley did not land right. And the rest of the suplexes that he was getting from Brock Lesnar, he wasn't going straight on his back. he was kind of going on his side. He was favoring that shoulder, man. So
and that's what the reports were saying is like he was taking the shots in a different angle, and I think they were trying to get him to WrestleMania just so they could tie up things, but as you can tell, sometimes you just can't. You can't. And apparently, the rumor is he saw Dr. James Edwards in Birmingham, and he's gonna be out for 4 months. So
yeah, and that's really a shame, man, because like you were just saying, bro, he was bringing that personality, he was bringing that flair, he was bringing that spunk. Lashley's been around for a while. Obviously, had his first run with WWE, left there, did some stuff with TNA, won the World Heavyweight Championship there, came back to WWE, and you know what? Since he's came back and this whole angle that he's had with MVP and everything he's done, he's been in the main event scene, and it's been deservingly so. Because when the spotlight is on him and the mic is in his hand, he's been money. You know what I mean? So I know this not only sucks for fans like us who are enjoying him, but this sucks for WWE because I know it threw a wrench in their plans, especially at the pay-per-view right before WrestleMania. You know what I mean? Right. We're going into WrestleMania. This is it, baby. We're white hot. We're almost there. And now one of your main players who's been in the main event your past year and some change, now he's hurt. Now he's on the shelf, man.
And the rumor was that they were going to put him in a program with Seth Rollins, which is why they originally threw Theory into Bobby Lashley. So
right.
To cause the concussion and cause him the title. I think it's hilarious that Brock Lesnar went off the beaten path and legit broke out of the elimination chamber cage. I mean
so those things you weren't aware, man, that they were saying that Brock just broke out of there on his own, like it wasn't his time to come out. He just got tired of sitting in the pod and broke out of the pod and came in there and wreaked havoc, man. I'm not surprised. Are you, Rodell?
No, because Brock Lesnar's a beast, and honestly, I think I'm enjoying this Brock Lesnar better than I enjoyed the first time he came back with Paul Heyman, because he's showing more personality. He's showing he's showing his really true self. So it's just, I mean,
we recently had Matt Light on as a guest here on WrestleTalk Podcast, and it was around that time, I believe it was the day before, that Brock Lesnar was on the Pat McAfee show and did that 45-minute interview or so, and that was the first time that I believe that Brock Lesnar has been in that type of interview setting where he just laid it all out and left it all on the line. And that was the first time that you really got to catch a glimpse of the true Brock Lesnar.
Was that where he talked about where he has anxiety when he's
exactly, yeah. And and it's a mental illness. I don't care what anyone says, and it's something that everybody in this country suffers from one way or another. I suffer from it. My wife dies, family members, so on and so forth.
So do I.
And so, but for him to, not be Mr. Macho and keep it in gimmick or anything, he kind of laid it out on the line, and that's what you do on the Pat McAfee show anyway. There ain't no gimmicks there. You're on there. You're saying your F-bombs, and you're keeping it real with him. And so for Brock Lesnar to take that interview on to come out and be real. So on top of that interview, and then plus what he's doing on WWE programming right now, this is my favorite incarnation of Brock Lesnar, man. And I love it.
And he's wearing the goofiest of outfits. I'm like,
the sweater he wore last night was legit, bro. I love it.
I seen that outfit years ago when I DJ'd at Wild Country in Collinsville. I mean, this is what people wore there: the hat, the stupid Western jacket.
It was spectacular.
It's great, and I like it when wrestlers show a little bit of their own personality, because apparently that's what he is. He's just a country boy, and his hair is apparently, I read somewhere where his hairstyle was a bet from his son or his daughter. He's like, I bet you won't wear it this way. Bet I will. And he's just having fun, and he's gonna defend against apparently Bobby Lashley at Madison Square Garden. He's going to go to, because I saw one of the fantasy booking things is like, have Bobby Lashley, Brock Lesnar main event night 1, and then you could drop the title to Brock, and then drop the title to Bobby, and then you only have the one title to worry about. But apparently that's not what they're going to go with, the title for title thing. So it's just, I mean,
and I've never been a fan of that with WWE. It's they're combining titles, then they separate titles. So now the way it looks, and obviously I know Vince McMahon was calling your phone a little while ago, Big Sexy. He was trying to run it by you, and you didn't answer.
I think he wants me to come in. I think he wants me to come in for WrestleMania. I think
I think you should be, man. Right in the writing room with Bruce Pritchard and everybody, man, helping them out, getting those ratings up. I'm gonna smack AEW in the mouth, knock them down a little bit. But no, in all seriousness, I just never been a fan of that. Money Mayo's never been a fan of that. That we've got 2 titles and now we're combining them. Okay, and now in 6 months later we're going to do 2 titles again. It's like, I get it. It's just like the title changes. We got to keep it fresh and keep it moving.
And they really just did that a couple of years ago with Becky Lynch when it was Becky Lynch, Charlotte, and Ronda for the title. So, I mean, I am happy for Bianca Belair. She gets another main event match at WrestleMania, and she's got some of the biggest charisma that you could ever have. And I saw a report today that they were raving about the Doudrop Bianca match at Raw.
Yeah,
so
absolutely, man. Bianca Belair, man. I'll be completely 100% honest here. I've never been a fan of women's wrestling until probably about the past 6 months. I've always been skeptical of it because I came up in the 80s and 90s. Women's wrestling wasn't prominent like it is now. It was always managers and valets on the side of the ring. So when women's wrestling started having that revolution, I was skeptical at first. But Bianca Belair's been one of the main reasons that is jumping me to that other side and starting to enjoy it. Like you said, Rodell, man, she's got charisma coming out of that long hair. She's killing it. Every time she steps in the ring, she's money, man. So if Money Mayo approves, then she's number 1 in my heart.
And then watching her actually when she wins, you could just sell the emotion in her.
Yep.
I mean, you look back to WrestleMania last year, you see Sasha and Bianca on night 1 and their faces before they faced off. And then after Bianca won, the Royal Rumble this year, she was legitimately happy. And last year, I'm sorry, not this year, but when she won the Elimination Chamber, she was happy.
Yep.
I mean, it really truly is to see someone that actually can wear their heart on their sleeve and actually win over fans. So I mean, it's so good to see. Even though sounds like we got kind of screwed out of a fatal 4-way between the 4 horsewomen of NXT with Becky, Charlotte, Bayley, and Sasha as one of the main events because Ronda Rousey became available. So, I mean, you're not.
I don't even want to talk about Ronda Rousey. I'm gonna flip this table and interrupt this broadcast right now. I'm still hot about that, Rodell. I don't forget Ronda Rousey, man. When she comes on WrestleMania, I'm gonna go hit the concession stand. I'm gonna go hit the restroom. I'm gonna go play some Madden. I'm not watching Ronda Rousey. That's my word.
I mean, yeah, it's just I can tell you're not a fan of Ronda Rousey, and she's taking on Charlotte at WrestleMania in one of the main events of the show. I don't know what to say. Let
me ask you this, Chris. As a pro wrestling fan, is there any excitement at all for you to see Ronda Rousey in a wrestling match again?
I don't mind it, but I don't know if Charlotte's the right opponent. I think she has more of a back feud with Becky Lynch than she has with Charlotte. However, I do understand they've got a good storyline going with Becky and Bianca from back to SummerSlam. So sometimes the WWE can be consistent. I just don't like the whole. I don't know. It's just I kind of would rather see Naomi take on Charlotte at WrestleMania.
Me too. And real quick, shout out to everybody out there in the comment section. Shout out to my boy Ref Pinky. He jumps in with a comment saying, Ronda is a beast. I'm happy she's in WWE. Hey, and you know what? And some people are happy that Ronda's in WWE because honestly, what is she going to do at this stage in her career? You think she's going to step back in an MMA ring? You know, she steps back in the UFC ring, she's going to get got. At least that's my opinion on it. I think she's past her prime in the UFC. Here's my thing with Ronda Rousey. I think she is good for WWE. But just like when legends come back, you put them in a prominent spot on the WrestleMania card, and then the Monday after Raw, they're back at home. And all the other guys and gals who've been on the road 300 days a year are back on the ground. And that's what's wrong with WWE. Again, I always try to say here on WrestleTalk Podcast, we could have a 2-hour show bashing WWE, what they do wrong. They do a lot of things right. But when it comes to Ronda Rousey, I'm saying they effed up. They effed up. They should have brought her back before Rumble. I get it. They wanted the surprise. They wanted the pop. That's fine. But not have her win the Rumble and not have her be in the main event, I don't know. No,
sticking with the women, let's talk about something that they did right at the Elimination Chamber. Lita and Becky Lynch. I mean,
yes.
I mean, I grew up in the age that that's when Lita was, the top, and the women were they were kind of just pushed to the side. It was like Lita, Trish, and all the divas, and they didn't get to show what they were really meant to do. And I don't know, Lita at her age, the way does she have one more little run in her? And
that's if she wants to do it. If she wants to do it, then WWE would not be smart for her not to do it. Let's get another little program with her between Mania and SummerSlam. Give me one more program with Lita to show all these young fans what she was about in the early 2000s. Because as I was just speaking on the women's wrestling and the Revolution, honestly, Trish and Lita main event or Raw, that was the seeds for this Revolution.
Right.
Yeah, it took a couple of years after that happened. But for Trish and Lita to main event or Raw, that was it. So
you know what, you bring that up. If there was no Trish and no Lita, there would be no probably Alexa Bliss and Bayley and Becky and all these women wrestlers that are out there right now that are tearing it up. So I mean, I just that's my opinion of everything. But Lita looked good. If this was her send off, then I'm okay with it. I'm sure she's okay with it.
Yeah.
I'd really like to know what Becky said to her after the match, whenever, they had the hair in front of her face that she, she said something special to her,
Yeah. I'm sure it was nothing but respect, and you can't not respect Lita for what she's done in this business, starting off in ECW and down in Mexico as a valet and cutting her teeth and doing the indie scene and doing it the right way. She just didn't go to a WWE development center and then was automatically on TV. She cut her teeth, you know what I mean? So I've always been a massive fan of Lita. I will always be a massive fan of Lita. And like you said, Rodolph, that was her send-off. I'm good with that. I hope they do something for her at WrestleMania. I won't be disappointed if they don't, but I hope they do, man.
Or maybe even you give her a couple months off and then maybe build something up to SummerSlam, because they try to make SummerSlam a big event too. So, and last thing from the Elimination Chamber, Austin Theory. Can we talk about Austin Theory? I know there are some allegations during the speaking out movement from Austin Theory. He was kind of taken off TV, but the WWE likes him. They put him with Vince McMahon. They put him. I mean, he was the last man in the chamber with Brock Lesnar. So, they think highly of him. Yeah. I mean, that F5 off of the top of the K, I thought it was actually going into the ring. I'm kind of glad it went to the outside of the ring because I think you could take a better bump that way.
Hold on, Rodell. What do you mean? He could take a better bump which way? To
the outside, then into the ring, because you got that little bit of a space between. You got that space between the corner, and you don't want to accidentally hit the corner. So
I just stopped you on that, Rodell, because I've seen so many people on social media saying, "Oh, I can't believe he landed on his feet." Those are the people. I dare you to go up that high with that mammoth of Brock Lesnar, put you on his shoulders, and giving you an F5 20 feet down to the freaking steel. I dare you not to land on your feet.
After getting his head slammed into the plexiglass up on the top of, I'm getting down no matter how this. I mean, I don't know. But I think Austin Theory is going to be a star. It might be a little while, but he's a good foil. He's a good foil for someone. So
I really like Austin Theory. I don't know what they're going to really decide to do. I think it, like you said, putting him with McMahon kind of shows their intentions. But the question is, do you think he will ever get a championship run? Maybe not necessarily winning the title, but will he get a program maybe with a Lesnar that's permanent on TV or Roman Reigns? Do you think that'll happen in 2022, Rodell?
Yeah, it could. It could. I mean, maybe not. Maybe I could see him definitely being a United States or an Intercontinental champion. Definitely by the end of the year, he might get a shot at one of the champions, depending on how everything falls. Don't think Austin really fits with Roman Reigns. I also don't think he fits with Brock Lesnar. However, it could be fun to watch.
Yeah. Definitely entertaining, bro. Definitely entertaining. That's what I think.
And that's another thing. Brock, afterwards, got that low blow shot from Austin Theory, and he's like shaking out his leg. Make sure we've all done that shake out the leg thing. So
you get that. I get that Charlie horse when I roll over in my bed in the middle of the night. I got to shake the leg like that, bro. It happens to the best of us out there, bro. It happens to the best of us.
So let's talk about, like we said, we're on the road to WrestleMania. We've talked about Brock and Roman. We've talked about Becky and Rousey, Bianca, or Charlotte and Rousey, Bianca and let's talk about Logan Paul.
Listen, man. Oh, man. I'm not trying to be that way. I promise you. WrestleTalk Podcast, everybody in the comment section, I am not trying to be Mr. Negative person on this show tonight. I'm not trying to be negative money mayo, all right? I'm trying to be positive, all right? But I think I kind of feel the same way. It might be 50-50. I'm not excited to see Logan Paul at WrestleMania. Yes, I get it. It's a celebrity. And yes, it does make sense. I'll give it to him. It does make sense to team him with The Miz, put him in a tag team match. But, bro, hey, good job by The Miz, though, for sprinkling the seeds that it might have been a certain second-generation superstar from another company. It might have been
Cody Rhodes.
Maestro!
What's up, Maestro? So,
What's up?
Man, look, on the Logan Paul thing, I'm going to put it in the same category as Ronda Rousey. Like, I get it, but I don't know, man.
And could The Miz, could one of you answer this? Could The Miz foreshadow Cody Rhodes more and it not be Cody Rhodes? Because he was like, he's dashing, he's from a family of fighters,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're dropping them seats. And then WWE, I believe on Twitter.
Smoke and mirrors?
Yeah, the little smoke and mirrors. For anybody out there not on Twitter, not following WWE, they dropped a little hint of smoke and mirrors on their official Twitter account. So I believe we might, if we haven't retweeted it on the WrestleTalk Podcast on Twitter, we definitely will. Everybody out there, please make sure you're following us on Facebook. Hit the like button. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on YouTube. Follow us on MySpace. No, I'm just kidding. We ain't on MySpace, but we should be.
Wait, we're not on MySpace? That stuff's still legit, man. I don't know what the hell they're talking about.
So Maestro, what's your feeling on the WrestleMania card so far? We got Brock and Roman, Charlotte and Rousey, Bianca and Becky, and The Miz and Logan Paul versus the Mysterios. What's your excitement level so far?
Yeah. Like, this is the thing. Card-wise, it's actually a really good card, I think. I'm really excited about the winner take all. Granted, Lesnar's probably going to retain it at MSG on Saturday. But so basically, we're going to say winner take all WrestleMania. As much as Logan Paul annoys the ever living hell out of me, I do think that's an interesting tag team match. He's not
nearly as annoying as Jake Paul. So
Jake Paul's on a whole new level of annoyance.
They're both annoying. What are you two? See, look, I try to come on the show and wear a Rams jersey out of respect for y'all. Now y'all are telling me that one's not as annoying as the other. They're both annoying. They
are. Can't stand. Look, This is a shoot and shout part when it talks about the Paul brothers. But no, anyway, even then,
it's a celebrity at WrestleMania. You expect it. We're also probably going to end up seeing, unfortunately, rumors are that you're going to see Johnny Knoxville take on Sami Zayn for the Intercontinental title.
No thanks. Not deal.
So, Maestro, would you rather see Johnny Knoxville or Bill Goldberg take on Sami Zayn?
You don't. I will remove you from this stream. Don't you even say it. No, I would rather. You know what? I'm going to say it. I'd rather see Johnny Knoxville because at least we get something different. Bill Goldberg shows up. It's the same 5 moves, and then he goes and then he freaking does a jackhammer and 1, 2, 3, and the crowd goes mild.
Well, you will be happy that apparently at Elimination Chamber, that was Bill Goldberg's last contracted match. So,
till he resigns for a 5-year deal, knowing WWE.
Well, it's more like 5-match deal, probably.
One match a year.
It's the Saudi shows because those crown princes pay
on the time.
The crown princes pay money for that stuff. So, I mean,
I still find it so ironic that Elimination Chamber was held in Saudi Arabia.
Why is that ironic?
And Roman Reigns won with a guillotine.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
are you surprised though? Are you surprised, fellas?
No.
Disappointed, but not surprised.
Yeah, no, absolutely disappointment. Listen, I'll say it again. I'm trying not to be a WWE hater here, but yo, bro, we're going into WrestleMania season. Hey, they're trying. They're trying with Logan Paul. They're trying with Johnny Knoxville. But man, let's really think about this. It's going to be, and this is obviously just a rumor, but we cover the rumors here at WrestleTalk Podcast. The rumor is it's going to be Johnny Knoxville, Sami Zayn for the Intercontinental Championship. Now, go back on that prestige on that Intercontinental title. Think about when The Miz held the Intercontinental title. He made that title feel almost as important, if not more important, than the World Heavyweight Championship. Now it's a freaking storyline, joke, push, jackass deal. Like, bro, that's ridiculous. From Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and Macho Man Randy Savage to D'Lo Brown and Jeff Jarrett and Val Venus and all the prestigious Intercontinental Championship holders to have this match at WrestleMania for that title. I'm fine with them having that match, but it should not be for that title, man.
Okay,
it should not be for that title.
The thing of it is, this is not a reflection of Sami Zayn or Johnny Knoxville. It's a reflection on WWE's inability to make stars and to make the Intercontinental title a credible belt over the course of the past decade, practically. If it wasn't
why not make it a rematch between Sami Zayn and Shinsuke Nakamura?
See, I'd be fine with that too.
Those two kill it every time. I mean, one of Nakamura's first matches in NXT was against Sami Zayn, and it fucking tore the house down.
Yeah.
Apologize for my language. I'm sorry. I get fired up at times.
Guys, I just got breaking news. So, in response to the positive response from the Crown Prince about having Elimination Chamber at in Saudi Arabia, they've announced they are going to have bring back Bad Blood and have it at the Ukraine-Russian border.
Oh, ouch. Okay, that's it. Carp's done for the night.
Welcome to the WrestleTalk joke.
Good night, everybody.
Maestro.
But
I had to. But no, I like this. Look at this. Look at that comment right there by Drew. Sami Zayn versus Shinsuke Nakamura is my favorite takeover match of all time. And they always put on great matches.
And that might have been one of my first, because I was not an NXT person up until a certain point, and that might have been one of the first matches I saw. So, and I will admit, I never got the whole Shinsuke Nakamura thing, the whole strong style thing. That's just not nice, Drew. Over the edge with a tribute to Owen.
You know what? In the comment section, I want people to just put their names of pay-per-views with interesting twists to them. We're going to make this interactive. We're doing a special show. The Night Owl's not here. He's watching, but screw it. All right, folks. We've already had the Elimination Chamber at Saudi Arabia. We already had Bad Blood at the Russian border. We've had Over the Edge with the tribute to Owen Hart. Keep them coming, folks. I want to hear what you got.
Keep them coming, but we're going to be sticking with high spots because I know here in about 5 minutes, we got the co-founder of the Nebraska Hall of Fame And I'm ready for that interview, so I got to get my zen here. I don't need to be all amped up about goofy pay-per-view names. We know what hey, we could come up with a million zingers on them, but we want to keep this high spot rolling absolutely over here.
So did you see the story today that AJ Styles has re-signed a WWE contract?
Yes.
Yeah.
And he got and apparently it's in the range of $3 million a year. I don't know how many. It was a multi-year deal, and it's a big money contract. So, I mean, it's good. I mean, he deserves every penny that he gets. I mean, even back to his TNA days, he's been one of my favorite wrestlers in the entire world. I mean,
one of the best of the 21st century. AJ,
yep.
I put him in this tier with him, Bryan Danielson, CM Punk,
yep.
Triple H. I mean, there's this upper tier of guys. Even and honestly, Samoa Joe. Put Samoa Joe up there, in my opinion. It's unfortunate how his career's basically ended because of concussions and whatnot. But they've been such a defining class of the 21st century.
AJ Styles could legitimately be one of the people that go into the WWE, the Ring of Honor, and the TNA, the Impact Hall of Fame. He could be in all three of those. And
absolutely.
And
I'll say this right now. If it wasn't for AJ Styles, I don't think TNA would have stayed afloat as long as they did. Plain and simple. AJ Styles was TNA. There was them low periods where TNA was running in Kansas City, running in Memorial Hall, which only holds maybe 3,000 people and wasn't even close to selling it out. But to have them small shows and then to get the TV deal and Spike and everything, that's a lot of that was on AJ Styles' back. So he held that company up and running for a very long time by putting on them 5-star quality matches. And from all accounts, I've never met the man personally, but it sounds like he's a quality human being on top of that. So much praise and success to AJ Styles. It's well-deserved. Now, let me ask you fellas this. However many years it is, I believe it's reported 3 years. Do you still see AJ Styles in the wrestling ring in 3 years, or do you think he could transition to being a trainer with NXT?
I was going to say, I can see both. I think after this, this is his last contract as an active wrestler, or at least as a full-time active wrestler.
Right, he'll go to after the next one. He might go to the Legends contract, where
he might go to Legends, occasional part-time thing, and which is fine. What I always want, and I want this for athletes in general, not just professional wrestling athletes, but I want this for like football players, baseball players. I want them to be able to go out on their terms. It's always unfortunate to me when injuries build up and derail their career, or just one freak injury, like in the case of Darren Drozdov, ends it early. So, here's praying that this contract, does all of his fulfillment, stays healthy, and then retires and does what he wants. Because let me tell you something, this guy has been a workhorse for over 20 years.
Yep, absolutely. And even still in his early 40s is still putting on quality matches, man. So again, much success to AJ Styles there. But
and he's going down to NXT to help he helped build Grayson Waller,
Yep.
And that's one of the things we can talk about later. But I don't know how much you guys talked about it last week, Sonny, but the Cody whole thing, the thing with Cody Rhodes.
Yeah,
I mean, it's interesting. More information has come out about it. Apparently, he wanted a good amount of money. So, but I guess they decided that they didn't want that creative differences.
Yeah. And Dave Meltzer was reporting that, and again, we will report on wrestling rumors on this show. We are a wrestling podcast, so we're going to report on everything factual, non-factual rumors, so on and so forth. But Dave Meltzer was reporting that over months ago that there was some grumblings within that founding members of AEW faction there. So when Cody Rhodes came out with his letter saying he's leaving AEW, and everybody came with their letter, I wasn't as shocked as maybe some people were. I was shocked, but maybe not as shocked because I had that in the back of my mind. Do I think Cody Rhodes is every week main event status that maybe he thinks he is? Me personally as a fan, no, I do not. I did enjoy him on TV. I did enjoy him in WWE. I enjoyed him in AEW. I enjoyed him in Ring of Honor. But I don't think he is what he thinks he is. And I think in his mind, he thinks he's Triple H. He thinks he's main event spot. Hey, he could put on a good wrestling match. He could cut a good promo, but I think with Cody Rhodes, he's just kind of missing that it factor.
But don't you think that Vince is like salivating at the fact that he's going to pull one of the original AEW EVPs into his company? Because apparently the rumors that are gone out, Wade Keller reported today that Cody wanted almost like $3 million a year, and they weren't willing to give him that, even though they've given Danielson and Punk the same deal.
Yeah.
But him and Tony Khan's creative vision apparently has strayed from each other. So
yeah. And I bet you Cody's creative vision was, hey, let me beat Adam Page for the title, or let me be champion. I mean, for all we know, that could be it, man.
But Vince has big plans for apparently Cody Rhodes. I mean,
we'll see, man. We'll see if he even shows up to the Big E. I'm still skeptical. I just can't believe that he would go back. Now, I've watched numerous wrestlers in the past trash WWE and then go back and make money and be good at what they're doing. I just don't see it with Cody Rhodes, though, for some odd reason. And I could be wrong. And I kind of hope I'm wrong, because if he does go back, it'd be really interesting.
It's the tattoo. The tattoo bugs me. That tattoo.
Oh, yeah.
That tattoo has bugged me since the beginning.
Yeah, me too, man. Yeah, I've never was a fan of the tattoo, but but you mentioned that all these guys in AEW are getting this money. Well, yeah, because they deserve it. Look, I'm gonna put it to you this way: if AEW came to your town, and the only name that they announced for that show was the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes, how many tickets do you think they would sell? Just based on that name alone. Do you think they would sell as many if the only name on the marquee was Bryan Danielson or Jon Moxley or CM Punk? I don't think so. So I think Cody Rhodes was a bigger deal in his mind than what Tony Khan seen he was, or Jericho, or the Young Bucks, or whoever's in that creative group there. I think he bid himself out of AEW. So best of luck to Cody Rhodes. If it was up to me, I would love to see him in Game Changer Wrestling. I'd love to see him in Major League Wrestling. I'd love to see him in Ring of Honor. I'd love to see him in New Japan. I think if he goes to WWE, they will.
NWA.
Yeah, I'd love to see him in. I think he would be spectacular in NWA, man.
That's where I'm hoping he goes.
Yeah, man, absolutely, Maestro. But I think, just my opinion here, and I'll get it back to you guys. And I know we got our guest coming up. Actually, is he in the backstage?
He is not backstage yet.
Okay,
well, we got cool time. I mean, I think Cody Rhodes in NWA would be could be phenomenal, because they could play it so much off of the and apparently he actually owns the trademark. I know we talk about trademarks on here because we get trademark violations and stuff like that
constantly.
But apparently he owns the trademark to his theme song that he used in AEW. Apparently
that's really cool.
I think he owns it. So I'm not saying they would use it.
And that kind of throws a wrench in some plans too there, because he did all those side projects that were attached to TNT and TBS. So
TBS doesn't know what they're going to do with the second season. They have all this footage of the second season of whatever that Roads to the Top.
Roads to the Top.
Roads to the Top. They don't know. They don't know what they want. They don't know what they're going to do with it. They don't know, because I mean, they don't want to promote. They don't want to promote someone that's not with the company anymore. So it's kind of like, do they just scrap everything? I mean,
I you know what? And I want to kind of keep it there on that Cody Rhodes and NWA, because correct me if I'm wrong here, Matt Cardona is now your NWA World Heavyweight Champion.
Matt Cardona, since he's left the WWE, has reinvented himself.
Bro, money, dog. I'm sorry, brother. He's money. I love some Matt Cardona, dog.
He is becoming one of the most hated men in professional wrestling.
And I love it.
Yes. Like the tweet he put out the other day, if you're cheering for the heels, then they really ain't a heel. There's people legit pissed off at Matt Cardona on Twitter, bro. And it's great because he's doing his job and he's making a lot of dinero doing it. He's making a lot of money. So Matt Cardona, he's definitely Money Mayo approved, bro. I love me some Matt Cardona.
He's won the GCW title over Nick Gage, who is the beloved in GCW. I mean, he's beaten Jordan Grace in Impact Wrestling.
Yeah,
you know, for that internet title or whatever, the digital title, and then he beat Trevor Murdoch for the NWA title.
Yes.
That hurt. That hurt me.
How can you not throw a big double middle fingers up to the wrestling business and be like, "Hey, okay, I'm good. I'm making money." He probably is making more money on the indies right now than he probably did.
I guarantee it, man. I guarantee it. And I bet you a lot of it's to do with merch sales because you know what? Yeah, he's a heel. He's a bad guy, but I'm telling you, he's selling some merch, bro. And he's killing it. Now, just like I was saying with Cody Rhodes, you go to a Game Changer Wrestling show, you go to a local independent show, the Bridge City Slam up here in Iowa, they announced Matt Cardona, and I know those ticket sales went up really quick. So Matt Cardona, at least with the independent wrestling scene, he's a marquee-driven type of guy right there that's going to produce ticket sales. So mad shout out to Matt Cardona. He's killing it, bro. I can't speak enough about his match that he had at GCW versus Joey Janela. It was like 25 minutes long. I ranted and raved it here on WrestleTalk on a fabulous Tuesday night about it. I love that match, man. It was a killer match. So.
It's just one of those. It's just one of those things. And I just saw in our little chat that apparently our guest.
Our guest has arrived. So allow me, because once he comes in, I'm going to be stepping back out. But I do know that later on I'll have to come back for a surprise. So, ladies and gentlemen, he is a former professional wrestler from the state of Nebraska. But bigger than that, he is the creator and the co-director of the Nebraska Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. Some of the wrestlers this guy has recognized include Abu Colossus, Mike DiBiase, and the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, Mean Gene Okerlund, Maurice Mad Dog Vachon, and so many more. Hell, folks, let's just get on with it. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome to the WrestleTalk Podcast, the one, the only, Donnie Dodge.
Thanks, guys.
Donnie, welcome to the WrestleTalk Podcast. We hope you're having a good night.
Definitely.
So you got your 2022 Hall of Fame class being announced. You got Lance Cade and Chris Havius, and then Preston Maxwell was named into the Hall of Fame. But apparently, I was reading on the internet that there was a little bit of an incident at the show with Preston Maxwell. So, you want to go ahead and explain what happened?
I could definitely do that. First off, thank you guys very much for having me on here. I love the podcast. I'm a big fan, so this is a kick to be on here with you guys. I really appreciate what you guys are doing. So we were at the PWP show. Pro Wrestling Phoenix runs every month in Omaha and downtown Benson, and this was different because this was the first time that we are inducting someone that is not a fan favorite and that is currently still wrestling. So it was difficult. I think Preston handled it well. He handled it the way Preston's going to handle it. And he just suckered the fans in like he was, they really thought that he was going to shed a tear and a tear of thanks. And then he just turned around and just verbally laid me out. And then, thank God Duke Cornell was there to stop it because with the shape that my neck's in, I could not have taken a pile driver from him.
No, I saw that. And has his Hall of Fame invitation been rescinded?
No, it has not. I think we were very clear. The Board of Control was very clear that no matter what he did, however bad, what he's done in the past, his accomplishments, and everything he's done for professional wrestling in the state of Nebraska far exceeds throwing some insults at me. I got thick skin. I can take an insult. and I probably could have taken the pile driver if I needed to, but it's not about me. It's not about words that he has to say to me. It's about recognizing the things that man has done for almost 20 years in the Nebraska area for professional wrestling. And he's going to hate me for saying this, but for all the great things that he does backstage for the younger wrestlers, teaching them, showing them the right way to do things. And no matter what he did in that ring, he represents himself well backstage.
So when is the Hall of Fame ceremony? Have you set a date for it yet, or
we have not set a date for it? We've still got 4 wrestlers to announce for the class of 2022. We've got one coming up here, I believe, the first week of March, and every member will be announced by the end of March for the class of 2022. We plan on. What we've done in the past is we rotate where the induction ceremonies are. So the first year was at PWP, and we had Mantar and Austin Storm. Maury Swanger from the OWA was there, and we inducted them there. The next year it was at Magnum Pro, and we had PN News come out, and that was a fun night. We actually presented Mad Dog Vachon's Hall of Fame ring to his wife, Kathy, at ringside. And then last year it was at the MWA show in Lincoln, and we had Dave Sullivan out there. We had Jason Strife out there. My co-director, Mikey Taylor, gave a wonderful speech written by Reggie Parks, who he had just traveled with earlier in the month. And so it was a wonderful event. We have thrown around the idea of having our own Hall of Fame ceremony. But what we don't want to do is we don't want to take money away from the companies that are running. And so if we run our own separate show and separate event, it's going to make people have to choose. Do I go to the Magnum show? Do I go to the next level show? Do I go to any of these shows? Or do I go to this one? Yeah. We don't want to do that. This is about promoting professional wrestling. And so if we can just piggyback and bring our traveling display out, and draw some extra fans in with some names, with some items that they might want to see, and talk history of wrestling in the state of Nebraska. I think that's kind of the direction that we're going to go with. So we're probably looking, long story short, sorry, this is a really long answer, but we're probably looking at early summer to have that.
Cool. That's awesome. I know that they'll want to be recognized and stuff like that. So Money, you go on. I know you have some questions for our guest.
No, absolutely. And Donnie, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. It was fun digging into your biography and a little bit of your history here. I've enjoyed it so far. So really what I want to know is the origins of Donnie Dodge. I mean, what really got your mind into professional wrestling? Was it a wrestler? Was it a wrestling show? What was it? What started your love for professional wrestling?
It would have been the late 70s, probably 77, 78. I would have been 5 or 6, sitting in front of my dad's chair while he read the Sunday newspaper and watching the AWA that they taped at the Channel 7 studios in Omaha. Watching those shows, it really sparked an interest, and I picked up on the storytelling part of it right away. Mm-hmm. A lot of people, when you're younger, you're just enamored with the athleticism and the bigger than life characters. But I was interested in the storytelling aspect, and I picked up on that quickly and very young. So I really enjoyed it. So leapfrog down the road. You go through the 80s, you go through the heyday, the Saturday night's main event, and just losing your mind when those shows came on as a teenager. Mm-hmm. Fast forward to the late 90s, and you've got the Monday Night Wars going on. Well, at the time, I was a radio producer in Omaha. I was a producer of the number 1 rated morning show in Omaha, and I hosted Monday night watch parties at Hooters. Every Monday night, I watched. We had Raw on one big screen, and we had Nitro on the other. And then, depending on what was going on the screens, we would switch the audio back and forth.
Wow! Really?
And we had well over 100 people there every Monday night, and we were having a blast. So I was always been kind of a self-taught kind of person. I like to watch matches, and I like to maybe rewind them a little bit and see how the moves are done, see how they protect themselves, see how they lead into it, how they make sense in succession, how they're used, and really pick apart the psychology of the match itself. Yeah. And so as I was hosting this, I'm like, you know what? I want to try it. So on my 27th birthday, May 2nd, 1999, I hosted the Monday Night Wrestling Party, and we did a street fight. It was me against one of the backyard champs from West Omaha group that used to go out and just beat the living crap out of each other. We did a hardcore match out in the street, out in the parking lot. We had ladders. We had a car. We had a guy donate a car, tables, chairs. We gimmicked the windshield, so I jumped off, missed a leg drop, and I went through the windshield of the car, went through the back window of the car, used a center punch to go through it. We had fake blood. I mean, it was magnificent. I loved it. Well, at the time, what I didn't know was Maury Swanger was getting ready to create the OWA, the Omaha Wrestling Association, which was a school and a promotion wrapped into one.
Right.
And so he invited me to come down. And he's like, hey, brother, I don't want to see you kill yourself out in those parking lots not doing stuff right. I want you to learn how to do this stuff.
Right.
And so he invited me down there, and I got to train at the OWA with guys like Austin Storm and Abu Colossus, Max Magnus. I was invited in because of my creativity with radio. I was invited in to help be part of the creative team a little bit by Maury. And so you talk about some of these great names. Donnie Pepper Cricket came in really young. Abu and Max and I were the oldest ones in the group. We were in our late 20s. Most of these kids were 18 at the time. Yeah, they were so young. I actually gave and bought Hype Gotti his very first gimmick ever. And it was a terrible gimmick. It was we called him Disco Derek Anderson. It was terrible. But he took a hold of it and he owned it, like he does with anything that he does. Yep. He absolutely grasped a hold of it, and he was wrestling in this stupid looking old 1970s suit that I went out and bought at the Goodwill, and he just absolutely he loved it. But we were a small company, and we were running a show here and there, and then we started running every week. We ran every Tuesday night at the Bourbon Street, and there's more people talking to each other right now on this podcast than we're at some of those shows.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Hey, listen. You really gotta love professional wrestling if you're gonna go out there and give it your all. Set up the ring, tear down the ring, chairs and everything, and you only get like 3 people in the crowd, 2 people in the crowd. But you still get 100%. You really gotta love pro wrestling.
The smallest
crowd. I got to be a part of some of them shows as a young money male to set up chairs and rep and whatnot. And hey, I had a blast with 2 people in the crowd as much as I had with 200 people in the crowd. So
the smallest crowd I've ever been a part of was probably 2, maybe 3 people. I think it was one family that was there that showed up, and the wrestlers still went out. They just did their thing, you know.
We were coming off of our very first show. The ring hadn't shown up yet. Maury bought a brand new ring, and it hadn't been delivered yet. So we piggybacked. The OWA Night of Champions piggybacked on top of a kickboxing show that was going on. And this was a teen and preteen kickboxing show. This show lasted almost 6 hours. It was at the National Guard Armory. There were 600 people there, and I'm pretty sure 200 were there to see wrestling. So they ran 3 kickboxing matches, and then we do a wrestling match, and then 3 more kickboxing matches, and then a wrestling match. We did all of these matches in a boxing ring. We didn't even have a wrestling ring. It was a steel reinforced boxing ring. It was so brutal. It was absolutely brutal, but I wouldn't change a thing. So we were going from 600 people, and we're all looking at each other like we're established now. I walk out of there carrying the hardcore title, and I'm like, I'm a man about town. No matter what show we do, it's going to be packed. It's going to be packed to the rafters. And we get to that first Bourbon Street show, and there's 11 people there. 10 people, if you include the bartender. There were shows there were more people in the locker room than there were actually out in the seats themselves.
Oh, those some of and actually some of those shows are probably some of the funnest shows that you could do as an independent wrestler. You know, I mean,
yeah.
And you know what? And Donnie, I bet you that kickboxing crowd really didn't know what to think to have that type of crossover between kickboxing and pro wrestling. I'll throw in a little interesting story kind of related to that. One of our fabulous sponsors here on the WrestleTalk podcast is Esports Bar Kansas City. And what we like to do here in Kansas City, especially our main host, Renee, the Night Owl Martinez, shout out to him. I know he's watching. He's in the comments section. Much love to you, Night Owl. He likes to hold watch parties for Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, so on and so forth. And we've had him at Esports Bar Kansas City, one of our sponsors on the show. Well, one night we showed up, and please don't hold me to this. I can't remember if it was WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, but it was one of these pay-per-views. Well, just as we were coming in, the wrestling fans, before the wrestling event, there was a lowrider oldies show going on at Esports Bar Kansas City. Somewhere floating around on Facebook is a picture of all of us in Esports Bar. And it was a complete mixture of the lowrider crew and the wrestling crew and fans with their belts and masks and gimmicks. And it's still one of my favorite photos today. So to have that type of crossover, that's what popped in my head there, Dodge, when you were talking about the kickboxing crowd and the pro wrestling crowd. I'm sure some of them kickboxing parents were like, what is going on here?
We did a show right. Dynamo Pro did a show right before the pandemic started. Right, one of our last shows that we did before the pandemic shut the whole world down. We did a show with a women's roller derby team. We did a co-promoted show, and it actually turned out really great. The crowd that was there for the roller derby girls, they stayed and they watched the rest. They loved it. We had four matches. And it was a great show, and we're actually going to do more shows with them sometime later on this year. So
that's fantastic. And I know you guys probably have the same problem in your region. Is there's so many people that don't know that the local professional wrestling exists. I was at a store just last week, and I saw this young man wearing one of those AEW Letterman's jackets. I mean, those things aren't cheap.
No, sir, they're not.
No, so I walk up to him. I go, "Hey, are you going to the PWP show tonight down at the waiting room in Benson?" And he goes, "What's that?" And I'm like, "You're wearing an AEW shirt, coat, and hat.
Yep.
And are you from here?" And he goes, "Yeah, I've lived here my whole life." And I'm like, so I'm giving him cards. I'm like, you got to check this out. I mean, he's like, well, I got this. He drove 3.5 hours to go watch an Impact show out in the middle of central Nebraska when there's 4 feds that run in eastern Nebraska, and then plus all the ones that run in Iowa, and plus down by you guys. And he had no idea. So, I mean, it's kind of nice to be able to open up somebody's eyes and say, hey, there's something really cool going on here.
And sometimes if you get someone to an independent wrestling show, they become a fan. One, they become a fan of professional wrestling. 2, they actually get to meet the guys and girls that do it. They become, they get to know them. And then if they see them later on down the line on WWE, AEW, they're like, I seen that person at an armory or at a random place or at some festival because we do like a couple of festivals every year.
Oh, right. St. Louis are great, man. And you know what? And I've ranted about that so many times. And I grew up in Philadelphia, so it's a little bit different. Those fans out there, I think they're quicker to go to an independent show than they are a WWE show. Not saying that they won't go to a WWE show, but here in the Midwest, especially in Kansas City, I've got so many people that I know and I work with that will go to a WWE show, will drop that $80, $100 for a ticket, $20 for drinks, $30 for a T-shirt. And hey, more power to them. Not saying that WWE doesn't do a great job on production and wrestling matches and everything. But for $20, I'm going to go front row at a wrestling show. I'm going to yell at the bad guy. I'm going to slap hands with the good guy. I've taken my kids to that, and they fell in love. My 12-year-old Jensen, he loves going to independent wrestling shows more than WWE. I took him to a SmackDown taping down here at downtown Kansas City, and he literally just sat there like this because I didn't, I'm not rich. I didn't get good seats. I wasn't dropping a lot of money to sit up front. You know what I mean? So him just sitting there and not being able to interact with the wrestlers or the valets or the managers or anything. I mean, that's the essence of an independent professional wrestling show. So I can't speak enough. I will always continue to rant
because of the intermission time, the wrestlers actually come out of the locker room and they're at the merch table. They're walking around. People are wanting pictures with them, and you know, we use pretty much the same people, so they get to know as they come to the shows. They get to know the people, and you know, it's awesome to see. It's awesome to see a kid with one of the independent wrestlers, and you know, they're getting that one-on-one time. It's kind of like their eyes light up and stuff like that.
I actually had a young man when I made my comeback. I left wrestling in 2001 after my third son was born. It's a story that a lot of people tell. I had 3 kids. I just didn't have the time anymore, so I had to kind of give it up. Worked a little bit farther down the road. Now I'm a firefighter. I'm out of radio. I've got a little bit of extra time, and so I decided to make a comeback. In 2014, I decided to come back at the age of 41, and with Magnum Pro, and I stuck with my hardcore roots and I was lucky enough to wrestle some amazing matches, but ended up having to retire after 2017. I ruptured a couple of discs in my neck, and after the MRI, I found out that I had stenosis through my entire cervical column. So bumping is never an option again. I'm damn lucky that I made it as far as I did.
Well, it's a good thing you didn't catch that pile driver then.
Exactly. And Preston knows that I have that issue.
Because when you get that stenosis, it's like one bump the wrong way, way or the other. That's it.
I like to say, you're donezo, cuzzo. It's over. Lights out.
And that's where the Hall of Fame came from. Is I wanted to still be able to hang out with my buddies. I still wanted to be around the shows and be part of it. And I am a huge history buff. I was lucky enough, blessed enough to become friends with Mad Dog Vachon when he would come help train at the OWA. And Maurice was such a sweetheart. And it just kind of hit me one morning. There's no Nebraska Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. Why is there not a Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame? And it just wasn't a thing. And I know there's a lot of states that don't have this. And so I'm like, screw it. I'm gonna start one. And a couple of people are like, you can't just start a Hall of Fame. I'm like, well, we're not going to do a building. This is a hybrid. We're going to have a traveling display. We're going to get collections of exciting items, historical items, and we're going to bring them to the shows and make them a draw for the other wrestling promotions. And so that's what we do. We have this. We create our first class. Mad Dog was going to be the number one guy. Absolutely nobody else other than Mad Dog was going to be the number one guy. And I had a plan. Is once I got the class of 2018, which was Mad Dog Vachon, Maury Swanger, the creator of the OWA, Baron Von Raschke, Mantar, Austin Storm, Vern Gagne, and Joe Dusek. Now, in order to get into the Hall of Fame, it's not a hard, fast A, B, and C. This is how you get in. We want you to be from here, or we want you to have lived here, or you have made your mark in in Nebraska. And if it's a local wrestler, we prefer you to have a minimum of 15 years in the business to make a contribution. So all of those guys met that criteria in some way. And so every one of those guys was tied to Vern Gagne. He obviously owned Nebraska with the AWA territory. Joe Dusek was the promoter here through the 30s and 40s and actually sold Nebraska to Vern Gagne in the AWA. And Mantar, Mike's from South Omaha. He was a South Omaha boy. Baron Von Raschke played football for Nebraska. He lived in South Omaha before he retired and moved up to Minnesota with his son. Mad Dog lived in South Omaha after he started wrestling with the AWA. He relocated to Omaha, and then Maury obviously started the Omaha Wrestling Association. So the 2018 class was easy. So now it wasn't just on me to pick who's in. Now that we actually have a class, any living member of the Hall of Fame has a say in who gets in the next years, in the upcoming years. So this class of 22, what I do is Mikey Taylor and I put together a listing of names: locals, nationals, promoters, celebrities sometimes that made an impact in the history of Nebraska professional wrestling. And then we present that list to anybody that is a living Hall of Fame member, and they can voice their opinions. Sometimes it's civil, sometimes it's not.
Man, we got some characters in this business, man. There's people not afraid to say their opinion on things. So.
Yeah, opinions are like assholes. Everyone's got one. So.
They do. They really do.
They're a little bit louder, and that's okay.
So, Donnie, can you talk about what Jason Strife has meant to the Nebraska independent wrestling scene?
Hey, before he starts, man, big shout out to Jason Strife.
He was actually just a guest a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah,
me and Sonny interviewed him, and he was great. But what does he mean to the Nebraska independent wrestling scene?
First off, I watched that podcast. It was amazing. You guys did a great. It was fantastic. I've known Strife since 2014 is the first time I met him when I went over to a Magnum Pro show when they were running over Council Bluffs at the VFW hall with the low boy ring, and there were 200 people crammed into a room that only held 100. I met him there, and he welcomed me in. He welcomed me back as a former professional wrestler. He gave me my spots. He gave me a spot. He's like, all right, old man, go out there and do that. But he also saw the passion that I had for it, and I knew that it was going to be a good partnership. And my partnership is me giving him my opinions and him not doing it. but with Strife, it's a different thing because he's got a drive. He's got a drive that not a lot of people have. Yes. He's got the willingness to put himself out there. He's very blunt, and I don't mind that. I'd rather know where I stand with somebody.
Yeah, you have to appreciate that.
Exactly. So another thing about Strife is, and I may catch a hard time about this, but I would say he's probably one of the most talented professional wrestlers to come out of the Omaha metro area in probably the last 30 years.
I don't think you'll get any disagreement from us here on.
No.
I've had the opportunity to watch Jason Strife numerous times. I actually even convinced my wife, who's not that much of a fan of professional wrestling, for me to drive up to Omaha from Kansas City to see Strife versus Aldis at Magnum. A great match, man. Every time I know Strife is going to be on the card, it does not matter who else is on there. I know I'm going to get a good professional wrestling match out of Jason Strife. So, and to keep the thing rolling here real quick, Dodge, I do want to keep talking about some other guys. Somebody you mentioned that you inherited in the business really young, and also another former guest on WrestleTalk Podcast, part of the WrestleTalk Podcast family, is Donnie Pepper Cricket. What's your feelings on him, bro? Because that's another one that I can say. When I know Donnie Pepper Cricket's on the card, I'm gonna get my money's worth one way or another.
Donnie is first off, it's confusing when we're in the same locker room because everybody wants to talk to him, and I think they're trying to talk to me. And nobody wants to say Pepper because the last name's too long, so it's always Huska and Donnie. And I have been lucky enough to know Brandon for a very, very long time, and he is truly one of the high spots in professional wrestling. When you're in a locker room with him, it is a joy to be around. He is always there to help. He is always there to make sure that your match is going to be perfect. If you're working on it pre-show, he is there to help. He's not there to criticize. He's there to make sure that what you're doing is going to be perfect and necessary to tell the story. And there is not a person, I have yet to find a person on this planet that would disagree with that statement, that Donnie Pepper predicted is probably one of the most well-liked human beings, not only in professional wrestling, but on the planet.
Yeah. No, he's always aces, man. And like I said, another guy up there in that Omaha, Nebraska area, in the state of Nebraska, representing Nebraska well, Nebraska pro wrestling really well. So, Donnie, I got a question here for you then. We're talking about well-known professional wrestlers in the state of Nebraska. Is there somebody that's on your radar that maybe is not as well-known, that catches your eye, maybe somebody up and coming, or someone who's been around that's a little bit underrated? Is there somebody you could think of there?
Well, we do one award as a Hall of Fame. It's called the Chip Douglas Wrestler of the Year Award. And that comes out January 1st every year. And Chip Douglas, for those that don't know, he was a wrestler with the OWA. He was a young man. He was 18, 19 years old, 6'2", 6'3", 230 pounds. I mean, and this kid could move. He moved like Edge. He was that good. He wore out videotapes watching them to learn and to train and to do everything that he could. And unfortunately, he was the one. If there was ever one that was going to be the one, he was it. And we tragically lost him very young to a brain aneurysm. So there's a bright spot to that, as he was always one that was willing to work with others and help others. Multiple people were helped by his donation of organ donations after his passing. So we thought it only right that the best professional wrestler, in our opinion, for the year, an up-and-coming young wrestler, is named after Chip Douglas. And so we've got 3 that we've named. 2020 doesn't count because that was just a shit show to begin with. But, we've named the very first one was Cold Stone Tim Boston. He's a fantastic. He's a guy that can work he can work a funny gimmick. He can work a power gimmick. He can work heel. He can work. It's just he's got everything that you could ask for. Another one that we absolutely love is Nicky Sant. He's a young man that was trained by Strife. And he's recently come back off of an injury, and he looks like $1 million, and he's learning the business really, really well. He's one of those that could be a young Tommy Dreamer type face down the road. And then the 2021 Pro Wrestler of the Year was Jack Darling, and he is an odd duck. He's oh man, but man, his face looks like a jack-o'-lantern got hit by a truck. But man, he is, and I love him. I absolutely love Jack. But he's put in the work. And he's older. He started late in life. He started in his 30s, and he has just absolutely jumped in both feet. And those 3 names right there, if you ever see Jack Darling, Nicky Sant, or Cold Stone Tim Boston on a card anywhere near you, you are going to get your money's worth.
That's awesome. Jason Strife, he kept telling me about his matches with Dingo. Do you have any relationship with Dingo?
I do not, but if I could recommend any match that I was honored enough to watch be built backstage, is Strife and AJ Styles. Strife and AJ Styles is and I was honored enough to be on that card as well, and to be backstage with a guy like AJ. It was the very first indie stop after he left TNA was Omaha, and it was just And we were lucky to get him. We jumped on it. We got him in, and that building was packed to the rafters. Also, a fun fact about that show, it was also a fundraiser for Muscular Dystrophy Association. Nice. And Magnum Pro raised almost $3,000 that night, just by ticket sales alone. So
we talked about AJ Styles in our previous segment about how he just signed his new contract with the WWE and he's making big money. And we both agreed that he deserves every penny that they're going to give him, and that he could probably be one of the very few people that are in the Ring of Honor, the TNA, and the WWE Hall of Fame all at the same time. Because I mean. He's what his nickname is, phenomenal. So
exactly. And it's much deserved because all the stories that I've heard about AJ Styles, that time that he left TNA to that time he signed with WWE and he did that run in the indie scene there for a little bit. They said that, he worked with promoters even on his price, you know what I mean? Just so he could come in and do that indie thing. And, he's paying for guys' meals. I mean, just a phenomenal human being. I've never got the chance to meet him, but from all accounts, phenomenal human being on top of being a phenomenal wrestler. So much praise to AJ Styles. And Donnie, that's super cool that his first stop was there in Omaha. Out of all the places in the world, for you guys to grab him, that's awesome, bro.
Yeah, right place, right time. That's exactly what it was. Right place, right time. And to be able to watch that, to be able to watch those two dance together I could have watched it for 6 hours. It was that well done. It was a special night.
Yeah.
What's the best piece of advice that you could give to a up and coming wrestler right now? What if you could give one piece of advice to the up and coming wrestlers in the independent scene? What would it be?
Attitude. Keep an open mind and keep a positive attitude, and don't get drawn into the backstage bullshit. Don't get drawn into the drama. Don't get drawn in. Guys are going to try and they're going to try and drag you in one direction or the other. Just stay yourself. Don't get pulled off to one side or the other, and listen. If somebody tells you to do something, they're telling you to do it for a reason. And you'll be able to tell the guys that are trying to dick with you a little bit, but always ask questions. And I just told this to a young man at the PWP show the other night. Go back. If you're going to watch film, go back. Go back to the 70s. Go back to the early 80s. Go back to the 60s. Anything that you can find, and find one little thing that somebody else isn't doing today and make it your own. There are so many different little things that they did back then that people don't do anymore. The Mad Dog Vachon over the thigh drop over the rope, and then going back to the eye gouge and the bite in the forehead. Bring that back. Why is nobody bringing that back? I mean, it's such a pure heel move to do, and I've never seen anybody do it in independent wrestling because. And I don't want to sound like these kids today kind of guy, but let's worry more about telling a story than getting in your spots.
And also pay your dues, because I mean get there early, help set up, volunteer to help set up the ring, set up chairs, and especially after the show, help take it down, because I know you're tired after your show, after your match, but
it don't matter. It don't matter.
The promoters watch that. They watch the if you're willing to help out. And they'll be more reticent to bring you in, they'll be, and especially also another thing that I think is promotion is if you're on a show, promote it,
it's that's a big thing and I think that's where if I had any issue when I was helping with Magnum was the lack of social media awareness by some people. Just even knowing that, okay, well, I'm just going to click. I'm going to share this one time. That might be 5 or 6 tickets. That might be the difference between that promoter actually making a buck or losing money again. And if you lose enough money, you're just going to stop running. And so it's the little things that tell people about it. Just like I did that kid in the store the other day. I got no skin in the game. I'm going to bring the Nebraska Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame traveling display to PWP, whether that guy's there or not.
Right.
But I'm just trying to get it out there so these kids can still have crowds and can still do what they love to do.
And Donnie, that's why we have you on here, man, because all the hosts and all the guests, one way or another, love professional wrestling, and we respect the business, and that's just respecting the business, everything inside and out, from helping set up chairs to helping share and promote, you know what I mean, and loving this business. So, yeah, let me ask you something here. It was a little bit interesting, Donnie, and I think you're almost kind of like me on this, maybe not, but, you talk about the old school wrestling, and now there's the new school wrestling. Storytelling. Now, there's some of it today, but there's also a lot of I'm going to do a 360 backflip hurricane rana, reverse pile driver destroyer, and all that.
I got it too.
Exactly. So what's your thoughts on that? I mean, can you sit back as a professional wrestling fan and just enjoy an athletic match with no real storytelling, or does it have to be some storytelling? Do you wish there was more storytelling? What's your thoughts on it?
I love a mix. It doesn't have to be an entire show full of 300-pounders all doing chain wrestling and this guy's working an arm, this guy's working a leg, this guy's working the back. Show's over. No, if you can get a happy medium, it's kind of like going to the circus. If you went to the circus and it was all horses, there were no monkeys, there were no elephants, there were no any other animals, there were no clowns. It was just a shit ton of horses. I would never go back to that. So you have to you've got a lot of people that watch wrestling. In my opinion, you need to have a lot of different types of wrestlers and different types of matches. Just like if you have Strife on the card, you know that you're going to get a different match than you would get with Donnie Pepper Cricket. You know that you're going to get a different match than you are with this guy. And so to me, it's a happy medium. As long as there's some storytelling in there and they want to do the acrobatic match next, great. But I would prefer that there be a happy medium in there.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. It's like you can't have one specific thing. You got to have a little bit of a mixture of everything. So,
right,
I mean,
yeah.
JC Thunder, Brian Blade, and Big Dog gave me gray facial hair. Ryan Witzel. That must be in Nebraska.
It must be. I know Brian runs the MWA, current MWA heavyweight champion, and I believe they are running on the 12th of March down in Lincoln at the Cornhusker Social Hall. So actually, I'm planning on being down there. I love going and watching those matches. They put on a great show down there.
How big are the crowd? I mean, do the promotions down in the Nebraska area they draw well? I guess I should say up in the Nebraska area, but
they do. So we've got 4 major companies, local companies that run. We've got Next Level Wrestling, and they're running primarily in Northeast Nebraska, up by South Sioux City, up in that area. You've got Magnum that runs at a bar, and they're bringing in 300-400 people a show. And then you've got PWP that runs at the Waiting Room in downtown Benson, Nebraska, downtown Omaha. And this last show, they had 225, and that's capacity at that building. And then MWA runs down in Lincoln. They also pretty much run the rest of Nebraska. They'll run out in the Panhandle. They'll run in central Nebraska. They'll run in southern Nebraska. So we are so lucky in this state to have 4 well-run wrestling companies that are not cannibalizing each other, because they are all completely different types of wrestling. Magnum is completely different than the dark rock and roll style that PWP is. And then MWA is more of a throwback. It's more of an open, well-lit room, crap ton of chairs around everywhere. Everybody's got butts in the seats. Everybody's eating popcorn. And it's just a loud, fun, old school show.
Is it? I mean, we have in St. Louis, we have several different promotions that run. Kansas City is the same way. There are multiple promotions, and yes, we all kind of do different things. I work for Dynamo Pro. I've also worked for MMWA, which is at the historic South Broadway Athletic Club, and I've done shows as a ring announcer. But we also got Glory Pro, and we've got Glory Pro, and WrestleMax, and just other things. We just recently had a Black Wrestlers Matter show here in St. Louis.
Saw that.
Yeah, and it was from what I understand, it was a great show. But is there such thing as too many promotions running in an area? We also have just outside of the Illinois area, right across the bridge, we got several other promotions: Pro Wrestling Epic, SICW, St. Louis Anarchy. Just so we seem to have a lot of promotions in the St. Louis, Southern Illinois area. Do you think you could cannibalize? Is it too many, or is it
I think 4 is the right number. Next Level isn't running every month. From what I've seen, so that's that, and that's kind of an untapped market. That's about 2.5 hours north of Omaha, so you're not really going to get a lot of Omaha fans there. You're going to get the Sioux City fans, and the Northwestern Iowa fans there. The MWA shows, Magnum and PWP, I don't know if PWP's ever ran in Lincoln. I'm not positive on that. Magnum has run there just a couple of times. So they all seem to respect their space. They really do. There was a time where people were butting heads, and I think we're past that now, that we realize that there's enough people out there, especially in the Omaha area. We've got 800,000 people in that Omaha metro area, and there's enough money to go around to continue to bring different types of fans to different types of wrestlers. And like I said before, it's a different style. Magnum is different from PWP, is different from MWA, and certain people, they really like a certain style of wrestling. So I don't really think that it's oversaturated. I think one or two more companies come rolling in. I think we could reach that, and I hope we stick with the four that we've got right now.
That's awesome.
And that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing about professional wrestling, independent wrestling, especially in the Midwest, because we do have the KWA out there in Western Kansas, and KWA is consisted of 3 different promotions, and they all work together within each other, but they are separate wrestling promotions, and it's something different for everybody. The same thing here in Kansas City, in the local Kansas City area. You got DWF, and that's more if you take the family. I take my kids out there, and then you have Journey Pro, which is downtown Kansas City, more of the college party crowd. You're going to hear an F-bomb here and there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But all these promotions usually, for the most part, work together within each other. We're not going to run the same day. I'm not going to step on your toes. Don't step on mine. It's great for fans, diehard independent wrestling fans like us here on this show tonight. So that's a beautiful thing that you guys are doing up there in Omaha. I know Money Mayo's going to have to make that drive back there. I'm going to get my ass kicked by my wife for doing it, but I don't care. I'm going to have to come up and check out one of these shows. And one of these shows, I got to make sure that Donnie Dodge is there with the Nebraska Hall of Fame and check out all your full memorabilia.
Yeah, so our traveling display, we bring this out. We bring this out to multiple shows. We've taken it all over the state of Nebraska, and we've got some. And when I say we, it's myself, my co-director Mikey Taylor. We spend kind of like wrestlers do. But we're not spending our money on gimmicks. We're not spending our money on boots. We're spending our money on memorabilia. So it is pictures that we can tell a story with. It's old magazines, antique magazines from the 50s and 60s. It is trading cards, Dusek brother trading cards from the 1940s. That we found. We actually have, and this is a memory that is fresh in the minds of every professional wrestling fan in the city of Omaha. August 28th, 1996, the In Your House pay-per-view, Shawn Michaels versus Diesel. Diesel's last WWF appearance before he jumped ship to go to WCW, when he ripped off Mad Dog Vachon's leg at ringside, and then it was ultimately used on him. We have that leg. We have Mad Dog's leg, and that is part of the display. We have a life-size replica of the claw, of Baron von Raschke's claw. His son is an artist up in Minneapolis, and he sold a limited edition number of these cast claw hands. So we have that. We also have half of the Hulkamania robe that was given on WCW. And Bill Danenauer is a really good friend of mine, and when I started talking to him about this traveling display, I said, hey, if you happen to have anything that you would loan us, that you would just let us borrow for a couple of shows to kind of show. And he shows up the next day with just a garbage bag. He goes, here you go, kid. I'm like, what's this? And he hands it to me, and it is a Evad Sullivan pair of ring tights. It's the robe, and it's a pair of red knee pads given to him by Hulk Hogan that Hogan had used. And I'm like, oh my God, this is great. When do you want them back? And he goes, keep them. I want you to keep them. We've got so many amazing items. We have rings made for each individual member. Everything's on back order right now. So I see the shirt that I'm wearing. These are the Nebraska Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame work shirts. And these, until we can get the rings made, we'll have to make do with all of the inductees. They're all getting these ring shirts, and the only way to get one of these shirts is to be in the Hall of Fame. And we thought that the symbolism of these shirts being a work shirt, because you can't get into a Hall of Fame without putting in the work first. And
I like that. That's really cool.
Yeah. So we've got that going on. We've got so much on display. The rings will eventually be on their way, and we display those for a year. If the wrestler is passed, we display them for a year, and then we'll present them to the family. We've got some more items coming in. We've been talking with the family of Lance Cade, with his mom, his sister, and his widow. And we are hoping to add some things with Lance. It was a big pleasure of mine to be able to put Lance in this year. So this traveling display it's in my basement right now, but it's everybody's. And one day when I decide to stop doing this, it's going to go to somebody else that's going to be willing to do this. And we may be paying for the stuff, and the promoters give us money to buy stuff, to buy like the belts and to buy the rings. The promoters pitch in money to help pay for these things. One day this will be handed down, because this display is not ours. It's everybody's.
You do a specialized belt, if I remember right. You do a specialized belt every year for the induction ceremony, because I saw several belts on display.
We do. We did one for 18 and 19. We are going to combine 20 and 21 because the class of 20 was so small. It was Gorgeous George, Tony Cortez, and Dave Sullivan. So we're going to combine the 21 and the 20 class, and then we will do a separate one for the 22 class. And we've actually got some sponsors stepping up. Nice. That are willing. DJ Beat Drop. If you're looking to do a wedding and you need a DJ Beat Drop is your man, because he is paying for those belts to be created. And it's the fans donating money, the fans donating items. It's also these items can be saved for forever until we either get a building or until we just find somebody else that wants to continue to help make sure that these stories are never forgotten.
Do you have a lot of fans giving you like random merchandise, like random like memorabilia?
Autographed pictures. We had a gentleman walk up and he handed me a cookie sheet. And this is a big serving tray from an old OWA show this would have been 20 years ago. And he goes, this was at one of your OWA shows, and it was just laying around, so I had everybody autograph it, and it's been in my closet since 2000. And so here, I want this to be part. I want this. If you want it, we'll give it to you. And so it's awesome to have people willing to want to be part of this Hall of Fame and of this display. They want to be part of it.
Awesome.
Do you think there will be a building one day, Donnie? I mean, do you want it to be a building, or do you like the traveling?
I love the traveling. I love getting out. That's my favorite part is getting out there and watching a guy in his 50s talk to his kid. And I remember watching Mad Dog Vachon do this. Well, who's Mad Dog Vachon? And then it creates a conversation. And now you are bridging the gap of generational wrestling fans by learning through history. This guy did this and this guy did that. Well, that sounds like a lot like what this guy does today. Yeah, well, that's where they got the idea from it. And so it's awesome to see that family dynamic of dads talking with their kids about, oh my God, I remember watching this guy on TV and he was my favorite wrestler ever. And to see those two bond over that, and then to just sit there and be able to talk wrestling history, and not to do it arrogantly, but to correct some misconceptions. Sometimes stories just get remembered incorrectly, and Mikey Taylor and I do a really good job, and we work our butts off to make sure that we research the backstories of all of these wrestlers. So when it comes time to talk to the wrestling fans, we can tell them the actual story. We're not correcting them. It's just like, oh, hey, Ted DiBiase was born here, born in Omaha, and he did this and he did that. Well, actually, most of that's correct. He was born down in Florida, and he went to Creighton Prep High School until his freshman year of high school. His mom relocated here, Helen Hild, who is in our Hall of Fame. We got to induct Helen Hild, Iron Mike DiBiase, and Ted DiBiase in the class of 2019, and that was awesome. And so so Helen Hild moved here. Then she started dating and married Iron Mike. Iron Mike adopted Ted, and then Iron Mike wanted Ted to be able to get a D1 football scholarship. So he knew that Texas would be the way to do that. So they moved down to Texas, and 8 months later, Mike dies of a heart attack. And so to be able to pass that information along correctly to the fans so they can pass it on to somebody. Hey, you know what I just learned the other day? I thought this was this and this. Turns out it was this and this. And so now it was a story that they thought they knew, but now it's a new story because now they have new facts.
Yeah. So where's the next time that the traveling Hall of Fame display is going to be at?
Right now, we are up in the air. It may be the MWA show on March the 12th in Lincoln at the Cornhusker Social Hall. We also may have a special engagement at a Comic-Con out in Grand Island, Nebraska, out in central Nebraska at the end of March. We should know more coming up here in the next week and a half. So if people are interested, they can go to our website. It's prowrestling-nebraska.com.
Awesome. That one more time for me, though, for the fans who maybe didn't hear that. One more time for me, Donnie.
Sure. It's prowrestling-nebraska.com.
Beautiful. Awesome. So we have this little tradition that we like to do here on the WrestleTalk Podcast. We're going to do the WrestleTalk Podcast Game Show Challenge, and we would ask if Donnie would like to participate against the Maestro, Jeremy Karp. Jeremy, you might want to unmute your mic.
Yeah, why not? That would be the best thing to do if I'm going to.
I do got to warn you, Maestro. Though I am the national champion at smashing people in the face with things. So if you beat me.
Well, I do have to warn you
tonight.
Well, I do have to warn you, Donnie. I swept Herb Simmons in a wrestling trivia challenge, so
I still can't smash you in the face with something.
That doesn't showcase my brain knowledge. No.
Just because he's going to rearrange your brain knowledge here, if it sounds so.
Wow.
Sonny is
got over my shoulder. That used to be me before I was old and fat.
Sonny's going to be the judge in case you guys answer the same way. We normally have an intro, but we're limited on sound. So this week's world famous WrestleTalk Podcast Game Show Challenge will pit the Maestro Jeremy Karp against Nebraska Pro Hall of Fame Donnie Dodge. In a few minutes, we're going to have 3 questions about a particular wrestling topic. Whenever you know the answer, shout out your answer. Tonight's challenge is AWA World Heavyweight Champions. I will give you information about 3 professional wrestlers that held the AWA World Heavyweight Championship. When you think you know the answer, just shout it out. First one, it's 2 out of 3 falls. So let's go ahead and get this started. Question number 1. Maestro, are you ready?
As ready as I'll ever be.
Donnie, you ready?
Yep.
Okay.
So
this that's the confidence that we like to hear in the WrestleTalk Podcast.
I hope so.
This professional wrestler and WWE Hall of Famer was the last AWA World Heavyweight Champion. After leaving the AWA, he moved on to wrestle in the NWA as a member of the Dangerous Alliance. He also spent time behind the microphone using the name The Living Legend. Name him.
Larry Zbyszko.
Jimmy Garvin.
That is correct, Donnie. I don't need Sonny on that one, so I only need Sonny if you guys are close. So
yeah, and that was not close.
So Donnie is up 1-0. Jeremy, you got to get this one right so we can go on to we can get the 3rd question in.
Let's go, baby. Hold it down for the podcast.
All right, let's do this.
Maestro. Donnie, much love to you, buddy, but I need Maestro to get this because I want to see this thing continue.
That's right. I got a lot of things underneath the ring. I can hit you in the face too.
Oh.
I got this. I'm just going.
Wow, it's gonna get violent up in here. This professional wrestler and WWE Hall of Famer was a former AWA World Champion. Known as the man who broke Bruno Sammartino's neck with his lariat, this wrestler moved on to the NWA and won the
Stan
NWA.
Hansen.
That is correct, ladies and gentlemen. The winner of the WrestleTalk Podcast Game Show Challenge in a sweep is Donnie Dodge. Everybody, give it up for Donnie. Give it up for Donnie. Yeah.
That's the ref. That's the ref raising my hand right there.
Well, Donnie, it has been an absolute pleasure to
thanks for having me.
To coming on.
Yeah, this was great.
This was a great interview. I did see you sent to my friend request on Facebook, so we're good there. So shout out all the information for the Wrestling Hall of Fame, yourself, whatever you got, Twitter, social media, whatever. Let's do this so we can get you some followers and out to the WrestleTalk Podcast Nation.
Absolutely, we're on Twitter. I believe it's Nebraska Wrestling. We're on Facebook. You can find all of our contact information at prowrestling-nebraska.com. You go there, you can see every single class that's been inducted. We're in the process of adding new pages every single day. You can go on there and you can learn stuff that you might not have known. And then coming up the first week of March, we will be announcing our fourth member of the class of 2022. We've got 4 left, so there's a total of 7, and we are really looking forward to getting the rest of this class out there because this next one is going to be this one's going to be a surprise. This one is going to be a surprise. All I can say, it's national, and just think pro wrestling magazines.
Oh, you're super T. You're throwing out the super T's there.
Super T's, exactly.
And I did see a picture where you teased it out, and I was still trying to figure it out. So hopefully it'll be good. Whenever you get the information, whenever you're inducted, and everybody, we'll make sure we put it out on the WrestleTalk Podcast social media. Please don't be a stranger. We'll have you back on sometime. Maybe
I'd love to.
Maybe we'll talk about when we come back for another class, or just talk about Nebraska wrestling. We'll have you back on. It's been an absolute pleasure, Donnie.
Before he goes, we have to say it. Donnie Dodge, thank you so much for your time tonight. And you have a great interview, man. Spectacular. One of my favorites. I'm not just saying that to blow smoke. You're very informative. I enjoyed all the stories. But we want to officially welcome you to the WrestleTalk Podcast family now, Donnie Dodge.
It's my honor. Thank you very much. You guys ever have anybody cancel? Call me last minute. I'm in.
All right. Thanks, Donnie. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. Have a good rest of the evening, and we'll talk to you soon.
Take care, guys.
Well, man, I'm exhausted after that. That was
fantastic.
We had to go at least an hour. I mean, I don't know how long we went.
One of the most informative, passionate guys you could ever talk to, and such a blessing to hear all the stories he had, and just how much love he has for professional wrestling.
I feel that Maestro is probably in the background just going, wow, this is like really, I can't put this down. I can't stop that.
I was in the background listening, and I was just immersed in all of it. And you both also just absolutely killed it tonight.
Hey, Mike, thank you.
You guys really killed, all 3 of you. You, Rodell, you as well. And of course, having Donnie Dodge on, just the 3 of you tore the roof off the joint, and
so
I loved it.
Before we go, let's talk about some upcoming wrestling shows here in the our area. We got to shout out to first Celeb Fest 4 in Baltimore on May the 15th. The WrestleTalk Podcast is going to be officially a part of Celeb Fest 4. We're going to have us a table. Haas is going to be there. Nightmare Joe, as long as he doesn't get tasered again, will be there, and maybe
even if he does get tasered, he'll still show up.
And maybe we'll have a raffle to see who wants to taser Joe Lance. I mean,
we do that. We're going to give video and we'll put it up on the website, because
and actually, with the way what Celeb Fest 4 is talking about, with all these people coming in, they announced this earlier this week. They announced Kylie Ray and members of the Dark Order are going to be there. The Hardy Boys,
the list goes on and on and on.
The Hardy Boys, the New Age Outlaws. They're going to tear. I kind of want to go up and be a part of the WrestleTalk podcast table.
Chris, hang on. I just got word from Haas that they're actually at the table going to have a pin the tail on the Dick Douglas.
Oh
game.
yes.
That I heard that it was a by popular demand request from the fans.
Nice. But no,
So,
I mean,
yeah.
Celebfest is tearing it up. I know in Kansas City we got the XWE show, Heartbreak Brawl. It's going to be at the Salina Fieldhouse. I hope I said, is it Salina or Salina?
Salina, you said it right.
Okay.
Salina.
And they're going to do that special 50-50 for Bubba Sutton. And they're also taking free will donations as well to help pay for the what happened to him up in the West Virginia area. This applies to Joe and Haas. WDWA is going to be at Custom Creations in Martinsburg, West Virginia. So if you're up in that area, check them out. Dynamo Pro Wrestling, Mardi Gras Mischief takes place at the Concordia Turners Hall this Saturday night. Get your tickets at dynamoprowrestling.bigcartel.com. And then the following Friday, we have another show at the Arnold Eagles Club, which is available at tickets are available at arnoldwrestling.ticketleak.com. It's going to be a great time. We got great championship matches scheduled. So it's going to be a great weekend for Dynamo Pro. Are you heading to that XWE show this weekend, Money, or do you got?
We'll have to see. I know. I believe the Night Owl will be in the building. Correct me if I'm wrong there, Night Owl, but I believe Night Owl will be in the building for that. Fingers crossed. If everything goes good here in Money Mayo's world, I'm gonna be in Salina, not only to check out a great wrestling show, but to do what I can to donate to Bubba Sutton's family, to Howard Alden's family. We not only lost him, we also lost his fabulous son KJ.
And I believe the same thing happened to Rodeo Ron too. I believe he was in a car accident too as well and lost his son too.
And not too familiar with him, but still just another tragedy. I've heard nothing good but great things about him. So, hey man, life is too short, and just live it every day, love it every day, and try to do the best you can out here.
And also, Jeremy, you have a podcast going tomorrow, Roundabout Sports. You want to go ahead and give everyone the information about that?
Yeah, that is very correct. We have Roundabout Sports every Wednesday, unless otherwise stated, at 7:30 Central Standard Time. Tomorrow night's guest is NFL legend and big-time philanthropist, Tioka Jackson. Looking forward to it. Been friends with him many years. Haven't gotten the chance yet to get that one interview I've always wanted to, and finally I was able to get the chance. I'm really excited for this. It's going to be a dream come true. Once you all be a part of that dream, tune in tomorrow night. Looking forward to it.
I'm excited for you, Maestro. That's going to be massive, bro. Massive. Hey, shout out to Nebraska Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. What a great night talking wrestling. Pro Wrestling, Nebraska.com, Nebraska Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. Shout out one more time to our guest this evening, Donnie Dodge, man.
And Maestro, I want to come on your podcast one time. Maybe as we get closer to the playoffs, maybe we'll have a little hockey discussion. I know Sonny wants to be on there.
I was about to say, both of you guys are going to be on there.
I know Sonny wants to be on there, talk about the NFL draft. Sonny said that he's going to predict the first round of the NFL draft.
That we are going to do.
Hold on. Whoa. Calm down. You're going to catch a freaking Masato Tanaka. I said I'm going to correctly call 20 out of the 32 picks of the first round of the 2022 NFL draft. I'm saying it officially here on WrestleTalk Podcast. I said it on my.
All right. You trying to wager something for that money?
We will come up with something by next week's WrestleTalk Podcast. We will reveal it, okay?
All right.
Come up with something, but 20 out of the 32.
20 out of the 32. Okay.
I mean, there's always going to be a surprise that someone slips. I mean,
Johnny Knoxville might come in.
Time of the year in April, two of my favorite things. It's the NFL draft.
Yes.
And WrestleMania. And we have to give a shout out to our boys at Kincaid, because the rumor on the streets is that we're going to be having a WrestleMania WrestleTalk Podcast watch party at Kincaid at Oak Park Mall. Yo, do not miss it. It's one of the best places in all of the greater Kansas City area to go conglomerate with other wrestling fans, play arcade games, play old school arcade games, eat good, drink good, laugh, have great times, and watch WrestleMania on a big giant TV screen. So we'll be dropping more information on that on the future episodes once it gets a little bit closer to Mania. But look out for that WrestleTalk podcast, WrestleMania, Kincaid Arcade, Oak Park Mall, Kansas City, baby.
Man, it sounds great. So I think we've pretty much covered everything. I mean, we didn't get to a lot. Oh, uh-oh.
We got to do it one last time, fellas.
Oh, we got to get the sponsors.
I've had them down here.
Fine. I'm glad, but you know what? I got Listen, I got my blind friend Jerry who sits in the back of the McDonald's with the free Wi-Fi. He's listening to the show, so he can't see those, Maestro. So one more time for our great sponsors: Everything Combat, Kincaid Arcade, my boy B-Will at Esports Bar KC, Interstate 70 Sports Media. Shout out to you, Jeremy. My boy Dewan at Royals Mills Transportation, Painter's Dream Productions, Rathburn Engraving. Those are great cups there. Meet Fiesta, KC.
Very nice.
Nobles Men's Barber Lounge, KCMO. You got to ask for Pete the Barber. You have to do it. And all of the men, women, boys, girls, competitors in the FWWC. You guys keep holding it down over there. And who knows, maybe one day Mafia Money Mayo might show up and get a match. Maybe, maybe not. But that's for a different time, different Facebook page. Here we're about pro wrestling. So
that's awesome. It's been a great show, and I would be remiss with having the Maestro on here. Maestro is a wordsmith, so let's let Maestro end the show and give us a final thought of the whole show.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, first I have to do it. At the bottom of the screen, I've put up the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. This was a choice I had made to Hardcore Hoss a few months ago to put up there and to put it at the end of every show. I put it up at the end of every episode of Roundabout Sports as well. It's 24/7, 365, 366 on a leap year. No, you're never alone. There's always someone out there who loves you. Big shout out to Donnie Dodge being on tonight. He did a phenomenal job just pouring his heart and soul into professional wrestling. A big shout out to Sonny Money Mayo right over here, to Big Sexy Chris Rodell. And I'm going to give another shout out right now because I think it's a guy who, if there was an award for most underrated, he'd be getting this award. And that's Luke Skywalker Roberts. Dear friend, for so many years, I'm just going to say it.
And he's putting up with so much right now.
He is. There's a lot going on, and if it was not for him,
none of
us wouldn't be here.
I wouldn't be here. I know that.
Definitely wouldn't. I would not be, because I would not be a part of WrestleTalk, because he's the one that got the connection with Joe and Renee for me, and he's been my rock and my confidant, my best friend with this. And I know, Sonny, he's definitely impacted you a lot as well with WrestleTalk.
Absolutely. Every time I see him, even though we're 4 hours away, every time I get to see him in person, I make sure I give him a big hug. I don't care what I'm doing, who I'm in the middle of talking to. I got enough respect for that man to drop everything I'm doing, go up to him and give him a big, massive hug. I'm lucky to consider him a friend.
Awesome. He's been in the business for well over 35 years, and people don't hear as much about him, but he should be in so many different Hall of Fames. He should have so many different recognitions, and I hope this is just a little bit to make it known how much. I plan on having him on March 2nd on Roundabout Sports, and I know he's just gonna have so much to talk about. Both of us will.
Yep.
So with that, ladies and gentlemen, he's Sonny Money Mayo. He's Big Sexy Chris Rodell. I'm the Maestro, and always remember that life is a book full of empty pages just waiting to be written in. Make your lives worth reading. God bless, and good night.